Hi. I want to speak with other practitioners today, most especially medical practitioners or those that are trans aware, trans inclusive, aim to be, strive to be, desire to be, or just curious. My name is Rose, and any pronoun will do. I'm a gender dragon or gender maximalist. I enjoy all of them. I like to collect them as jewels. I'm also a gender and erotic trauma steward, and I work at the intersection of the body, trauma, and care. And today I want to teach not so much a method, but a patterning practice that begins with curiosity and listening. And it's something I picked up from James Olivia Chu Hillman during a course called Disobedience School. So before we dive in, I want to stop to invite you here into this space, not just as practitioners, but as your full selves, as people with stories, with longing, and with bodies that know more than we often let them say. And we'll begin with one of those stories. I was at a Pride branded clinic in Thailand, and I requested a full hormone panel. And when it came back, I noticed that both estrogen and progesterone were missing from that panel. And the doctor, once asked, said, "Oh, I don't include those. Trans guys freak out when they see it." He believed he was protecting me, but he was protecting himself from discomfort, from dialogue, from accountability. He chose narrative control over narrative co-authorship. But here's the thing. Without that data, we missed what my body was trying to say about my liver and about my gut and my endocrine rhythm. So I offer the question, where might protecting someone from discomfort be getting in the way of their authorship, their ability to claim authority over their own story, to more fully know themselves? Sometimes the issue isn't trans care, it's narrative care. It left me asking the question I return to again and again in my work, and this one comes from Dr. Betty Martin. And the question is, who is it for? Who is that care really for? His actions were rooted in his comfort and his assumptions about who I was and what would make me comfortable or uncomfortable. I offer this question to you, who is it for? Not as a judgment, but as a practice to listen for the story underneath. This is what I've learned again and again across countries, cultures, and systems. Sometimes affirming care still doesn't invite authorship. So let's pause. Notice your breath, your chest. Does it lift, hold, brace? Ask yourself, where in my body do I feel the urge to protect without asking what's wanted? No need to fix, just feel, just notice. I visited a traditional Chinese medicine doctor after years of chronic symptoms. I'd seen providers in 6 countries. None had offered any clarity, some speculation at best. And this doctor did not try to explain a thing. He didn't pretend to know. He didn't take a guess. Instead, he said softly, "Your body is special. We don't know why, but your chi is blocked, and we'll work to balance you." And so, week after week, we adjusted the herbs to meet my body. He offered practical steps for care: more water, less sugar, no ice, softer touch. There was no answer to why, just attuned presence. He didn't need certainty to begin supporting my body, and that was enough. So now I want to offer you a way of holding space. In my own work, I don't present this as a model. I don't teach it to my clients. Most of them don't know I'm using it, though some definitely end up picking up on the patterns of my inquiry. Clients arrive with stories, tensions, longings, aches, nesting dolls of stories. These questions aren't linear steps that I offer, but constellations that we can circle and return to. They invite authorship, not performance, and they help us attune and not direct. They are not diagnostic tools. They are relational patterning tools. Sometimes what the client wants is clear, crystal clear. Sometimes it's not safe to want yet. Sometimes we don't even know what's missing until we sit with what's been silenced. That's okay. Not knowing is so much a part of the story. It's important for us to hold that ambiguity with reverence. In India, I went in asking for help with overheating, constipation, chronic fatigue. The doctor smiled, nodded, and said, "I sense you have a lot of feminine energy." You don't say. It was meant as a bid for connection, I think, and I appreciated that. A way to signal that he saw me, except he didn't. He was speaking from a story he'd written, one in which I was a closeted trans woman. No curiosity about hormonal influence, no repair. He didn't ask about my symptoms. I clarified, and he shrugged. "I'm just telling you what I see." Mm-hmm. No authorship, no listening, just a desire to be met in his own stories. Who was that for? Even cultural sensitivity can fall short without narrative care. Like most of life's transitions, these questions I use unfold more like a scribble than a straight line. We're inviting bespoke authorship. Authorship here means having the authority to shape your own story. It's the difference between being spoken for or parroting and sharing your authentic voice and being listened to. Between being placed in a category and being met in your particularity. This pattern of questions helps practitioners attune and not direct. Lets them feel into them. So I want you to experience how they live in your own system. This isn't about abstraction. This is about you and your role and your practice. You might be seeing clients, answering messages, holding someone else's story. These can be a reminder to check in, not just with what you know, but with what's moving in you. These are the same questions we'll soon explore in the context of narrative care. But first, I want you to try them on as a practitioner, and I'll offer each question with a short pause after. You don't need to figure anything out. Just notice what echoes in your body, what sensations, memories, images. Just let them float up. So the first question, what do you want as a practitioner and your relationship with clients and systems and care? What's quietly longing to be named beneath the paperwork, the logistics, the roles? And what are you doing about it? Are your actions aligned with that longing? Where is there motion? Where is there resistance or silence? And then what's your plan if you don't get what you want? What supports you when the care you offer is incomplete? When systems fail or outcomes shift, what helps you stay soft? These aren't action items, they're invitations into authorship. And when we hold them gently, consistently, we begin to offer the same spaciousness to others. And this is how narrative care starts, with your own authorship and your own body. So, starting back at the beginning with the question, what do you want? This question often hides under the surface of the story, quietly steering whether or not it's been named. What do you want isn't clinical, it's narrative. It's where authorship begins. In Canada, at a trans wellness clinic, I met a kind and earnest doctor. And on our very first visit, he Googled the word non binary right in front of me. I appreciated his transparency. He didn't pretend to know what he didn't. That moment gave me hope. I told him I was starting low dosage testosterone, that I wasn't aiming for full transition, that I wanted to explore, that I wasn't sure what I wanted yet, only that something felt off and this was calling me. And he nodded. He affirmed my identity. But over time, my estrogen started to push back instead of depressing. And the doctor said, you're going to have to raise the T or stop. No conversation, no attunement. Symptoms began to surface: fatigue, anxiety, gut disruptions. I kept bringing these up, and he kept responding, everything's fine, your testo is in range. And that was it. No curiosity, no exploration, no follow up with the endo I requested, a binary path lane before me. This was not my desire. Sometimes what we want isn't about gender at all. It might be about clarity, curiosity, relief, peace, the end of confusion, pain, the beginning of coherence. Sometimes the want is buried beneath what someone believes they're allowed to want. That's why you might also ask the sidecar question, to what do you want? That question is, what are you committed to right now? Survival, family, work, the comfort of another person, relief from pain, immigration. All of these might take priority over our desires. And when those commitments override our desires, there's this incredible opportunity to name grief with our clients. These aren't deviations from the path. These are the terrain in which our desire lives within. The second question, what are you doing about it? This is not a behavioral audit. It's an invitation to look gently at alignment. Are your actions facing towards your wants? Or are you walking the other way because of fear or mere inconsistency, because of a commitment? Oftentimes people are doing more than they think. Doing may look like gathering courage, recovering from harm, tending grief, waiting wisely or impatiently. That's agency too. In the US, I planned my double mastectomy with a well-respected surgeon. His pre-op care was incredibly thorough. I was asked to make a plan, define my needs, set up aftercare. He was both professional and direct. No fluff, no posturing. A lot of clarity. I appreciated the strength of that scaffolding. It gave me space to feel in charge. I felt authorship and ownership over the unfolding of that surgery. But once I arrived on the day of the surgery, the relational energy shifted. The entrance was brisk and disconcerting. The procedure itself was efficient but flat. The post-op care from the nurses was rushed, mechanical. It felt indifferent, depersonalized, in a moment when I'd hoped to feel held. But here's what mattered. I knew what I wanted before I walked in. I had built a support plan with my friends. I had researched what aftercare I'd need and where I'd go if something went wrong. I'd already begun to care for myself long before I was ever on the table. This question isn't about measuring effort. It helps us notice the space between desire and doing, illuminating that space and naming it. What is already in motion? And what might inaction be protecting or supporting? What story does someone's actions or inactions tell? Is that the story we crafted, or is that their story? Sometimes the answer isn't action at all. And what wisdom lives in this pause and the opportunity to reorient, to reauthor. The third question, what's your plan if you don't get what you want? This is the tender one. It's the one that often gets skipped, but it's also where care becomes real. Not did you get what you want, but who will you be and how will you care for yourself if you don't? In Mexico, I sought care for chronic heat, constipation, and systemic infections. The doctor was steady and respectful, though clearly uncertain about how to talk about my genitals, which needed attention. He didn't perform affirmation. He didn't pretend to understand. Instead, he listened fully. Without picking up a narrative, he offered holistic practicality. He layered systems of knowledge as if building a map with many paths through it. There were herbs from the sidewalk, tinctures from the local botica, over-the-counter support, prescription meds. No single answer and a lot of spaciousness. He didn't say, this will work. He said, let's see what supports your body best. I had come in hoping for a cure, and I received care, enough to keep going. This is what the third question is really about, a rhythm of resilience, a way to be held by the people, practices, and stories that keep you wanting. So what helps you keep wanting when systems fail? When the outcomes shift or the path disappears? What remains is what you've built to hold you. This question prompts us to name and prepare to hold ourselves. Let me offer one final story. In the UK, I worked with a hormone specialist group who ran complex, high-level testing. They prescribed a rather expensive supplement regimen and added progesterone to my HRT, which helped for a little while. But when that stopped working, when I asked what came next after the supplements, I got silence. I got avoidance. I got missed appointments. No follow-up. No sense that we were in this together. Everything looked advanced, scientific, specialized. But what was missing was partnership. Someone to stay with me through the unfolding. Instead, I got a protocol that faltered. That's why these questions aren't tools to be used. They stay with someone. And the story and the restorying, even after the chart is closed, I will be left with the sense of what do I want? What am I doing about it? And how am I going to take care of myself if I don't get it? Let's take a pause. Notice your shoulders and your spine. What are you carrying from these stories? What part of your body wants to exhale? Let it go, just a little or a lot. These are the questions I carry, not as solutions, but as invitations. What do you want? And its twin, what are your commitments? What are you doing about it? And what's your plan if you don't get what you want? You don't have to ask them all. You don't even have to ask them out loud at all. But when you hold these questions as posture, as presence and practice, you make space for something I believe is sacred. Your clients as authors, not just patients, not just bodies, but full narrators of their own becoming. I want to offer just a few questions, not for discussion or debate, but as a way to mark where you are right now. So you don't need to respond, just feel what echoes. Which of these questions I've offered feels most alive for you right now? And where in your care could inviting authorship shift the dynamic? What do you now notice in your body that you hadn't before, if anything? So, this is where we'll begin to close. You've heard a series of stories, none of them complete, none of them polished, but each one opens a window into narrative care. These aren't steps, they're a way of relating. Am I making space for authorship? Am I listening for what wants to be known? Like any meaningful practice, it asks not just to be understood, but to be lived gently, imperfectly, over time, through repetition. May they be a compass, a practice of presence. You can begin by holding one of these questions inside a future conversation and noticing what shifts, not just in your client, but in you. This is narrative care. May these questions travel with you, and may your care invite authorship. Thank you for your service.